Okay, hi. So in this video, we'll be talking about how the heart pumps the blood. So I have here the diagram of the human heart. I will not go in detail regarding the structure of the human heart because I assume that you guys basically know what the structures involved in for the human heart. But anyhow, you still have the labels here. If no, just to refresh back your mind regarding the structures involved. Okay, so I will divide my explanation. I will start my explanation by dividing it into by explaining two important mechanisms under the mechanism of pumping of the heart. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the process called systole. Okay, and then we also have a second process known as diastole, an opposite process. Okay. Okay, so let's look at the meaning of these two words first, because this is actually one of the basic stuff, okay, that you have to know when you want to explain how the heart pumps the blood. Okay, so basically, human heart is actually a muscular organ. It has a special type of muscle that is known as the cardiac muscle. Okay, and what is the special thing about this cardiac muscle? Okay, they are myogenic muscle. Okay, myogenic muscle means that the cardiac muscles, they are able to contract and relax without being controlled by the brain. So that's why even though like you went to bed, the heart still beats continuously, because you don't have to think whether you should beat your heart or not. It's kind of funny if you have to think whether you want to start the heartbeat or stop the heartbeat, right? Okay, so that's the meaning of myogenic. So basically, the cardiac muscle is actually a myogenic muscle. Okay, now since the heart is made up of a lot of muscles, okay, and when we talk about the how muscles work, muscles can either contract or relax. So that's how we get the word systole and diastole. Systole is basically means the contraction of the heart. Okay, and diastole means the relaxation of the heart. Okay, now you are aware that the heart can be divided into four different chambers, right? And the top two chambers are known as the atria, and the bottom chambers are the ventricles. Okay, so under systole, this one will involve the contraction of both the atria at the same time, as well as contraction of both of the ventricles also at the same time. Meaning that when atria contracts, ventricles relax, but when ventricle contracts, atria will relax. Okay, so the same goes here. Diastole is actually referring to a stage where both of the atria are in a relaxation state, or both of the ventricles are in their relaxation stage. Okay, so I hope so far you are clear that the meaning of systole is actually involving the contraction of both atria or both ventricles at the same time, and diastole means the relaxation of both atria or both ventricles at the same time. Okay, let's start with the atria, the right and the left atria. And as you can see from this diagram here, you have a blue colored side and a red colored side here, and the blue colored side here means deoxygenated blood, and the red colored side here means oxygenated blood, right? Okay, now when blood goes into the right atria via the vena cava, the same thing will happen on the left atrium, where the oxygenated blood from the lungs will enter the left atrium through the pulmonary veins. So both bloods on both atria will enter each of the atrium at the same time. Okay, what makes the blood enters the atrium? This is actually done by the relaxation of the atria. So when atrium relaxes, okay, their size will increase, okay, because the muscles are not contracting, so they become like a bit, expand. Okay, so this will increase the size of both atria, and based on physics law, when the size increases or when volume increases, the pressure will start to decrease. So hence you have a low pressure inside both of the atria. Thus this will make the blood flow easily into both of these atria. Okay, so we start with relaxation of atria. Okay, both atria will relax at the same time. Okay, thus blood will start flowing into them. Okay, both deoxygenated blood as well as oxygenated blood. Okay, now we move on to the contraction of the atria. Okay, now when both of the atria, okay, start to contract, okay, this will actually push the blood from the atria into the ventricles. Okay, and you still remember these valves and these valves over here, right? So the one on the right is the tricuspid valve, and the one on your left is known as mitral valve, or you can also call this as bicuspid valve. Okay, so tricuspid and bicuspid. Okay, so when atrium contract, okay, this tricuspid and bicuspid valve will be open, will be forced to open, so blood will be pushed into the two ventricles. Okay, and at the same time the two ventricles will be in a relaxation state. Okay, because these two are contracting, so ventricles will relax. Okay, and then what happened next is, since the blood is already in the both of the two ventricles, okay, we will proceed with the next mechanism where the two ventricles will start to contract. Okay, so imagine that the blood is already positioned in the two ventricles. Okay, and then the ventricles will start to contract. When ventricles contract, what will happen is they will push the blood out of them. So the blood can go here, the blood can also be pushed back to the atria. Same goes here. The blood will be pushed out of the ventricles, and the blood can also push back to the atria. Okay, but which one that you want to prevent from happening? Yes, the blood being pushed back to the atrium. So what you need to do is you need to close back these two doors, right? So that is why when ventricles contract, okay, both the tricuspid and the bicuspid valve will be closed. Okay, and okay, let me emphasize here, when the two bicuspid and tricuspid closed, okay, these will actually produce one sound of the heart, which is the loop sound. Okay, have you ever listened to your heartbeat using a stethoscope? How does it sound? Loop doop, loop doop, loop doop, loop doop. So basically the loop sound, okay, is actually coming from the sound of the two of both tricuspid and bicuspid valves. Okay, all right, now back to the mechanism of this flow mechanism. Okay, once the ventricles contract, okay, the blood will be pushed out from both of the ventricles, right? Yeah, so blood will be pushed out. Okay, and you still so aware that there is like another type of valves can be found here, which is known as the semilunar valves. Okay, now when ventricles contract, in order for the blood to be pushed out, both of these semilunar valves must be open. Okay, and when they open, they don't produce any sound. Okay, now we go to this last mechanism, which is the relaxation of both ventricles. Okay, now when ventricles start to relax, what will happen is it will start increasing their volume. And when their volume starts to increase, what will happen to the pressure inside both ventricles? The pressure will lower down. Thus, what will happen is blood can be drawn back into the ventricles, right? Because the pressure here now is low. Okay? So when the pressure now is low during the relaxation or the diastole of ventricles, the blood can flow back into both of the ventricles. So how do we prevent the blood from flowing back to the ventricles? Yes, we have to close back these two valves, the semilunar valves, so that both the oxygenated blood and the deoxygenated blood that have been pumped out of the blood cannot go back to the ventricles. So then when this happens, you will have the second sound of the heart. So when the semilunar valves close, this will produce the second sound of the heart, which is the doop sound. Okay, so that's how you get the production of the loop-doop sound of the heart. They are actually caused by the closing of both bicuspid and tricuspid valve at the same time during contraction of ventricles. Okay, so this one, let me put here loop sound. And the second sound, which is the doop sound, is actually produced when both the semilunar valves closed during the relaxation of the ventricles. So this will produce the second sound, which is the doop sound. Okay, so I hope this is clear enough for you to understand the mechanism of how the heart pumps the blood. Okay, basically we just need to divide everything into systole as well as diastole. So please use the word systole and diastole when you explain about the contraction or the relaxation of atria and ventricles. Okay, and then you may relate the systole and diastole to the two sound of the heartbeat, which is the loop and the doop sound. Okay, so loop doop, simple as this.